I suppose there's two main differences in the Australian system, one of which I'll talk about now, one which we can get to. The main one is around land registration. So I hesitate to say title because that has a lot of connotations for how you guys operate in a business model sense here in the United States. But land registration in Australia is done at the state level. And we have a system called Torrens title, which basically means, and it was invented in Australia and has now been carried to a lot of other English-speaking markets, but basically it means the government keeps a definitive register of who owns each parcel of land, and that's at the state level there. We're connected to 5 states and 1 territory.
What happens if they get it wrong?
Well, if you go on title and you haven't been fraudulent, you own that property. So I was saying to Nate the other day, if while I'm away someone manages to sell my house fraudulently to an unwilling buyer, they actually own the house. So it's a fairly authoritative register of who owns it. The state does also provide an insurance fund if something goes wrong from a title fraud perspective. But to be honest, I don't think we've had any cases of title fraud that I'm aware of.
That's very interesting. So how'd you get going? I mean, this is an incredibly difficult business to get rolling. How did that happen? What did you do?
Yeah, it's very much a chicken and egg situation to get everyone from what in our market was almost a completely paper-based process, and even involved people physically having to meet up to exchange bank checks and title documents and sign legal things, which was the case only 5 years ago, to one where it's almost completely digital, and in fact, completely digital. And that took a lot of effort at the industry level. We were fortunate enough that we also had a lot of government support. So PEXA actually grew out of a collaboration effort between the various state and federal governments and industry. And initially, the state governments were small equity holders in us. And
that's very interesting to me. So the states were actually owned part of the business and helped get adoption.
Correct. The 2 largest states, New South Wales and Victoria, had both tried to do e-conveyancing efforts in the early 2000s, but both had failed with lots of money invested and no one had taken it up. So what happened, and we realized that a national approach was needed, so they tipped their IP and an agreement to work with us into the early PEXA, and then the big banks came in. But then the bulk of the investment was done by private investment.